Carl goes on a date. After the death of Ellie, his beloved wife, this is the first time Carl will go on a date with another woman. This new short film will touch your heart. As we know from the Up movie, Carl Fredricksen is a widower who has been without the company of his wife Ellie, whom he loved with all his heart for many years. Carl met Ellie when they were children. Ellie was playing, imagining she was an explorer flying her own blimp when she heard the voice of a very energetic little girl who also shared her passion for aviation and adventure. The two are very different. He is very shy and reserved, while she is very cheerful and talkative, but there was something between the two of them that they easily connected and became great friends. Years pass and Carl and Ellie become a couple and get married, and their affair begins. Ready in their home, just as they had dreamed, they both get a job at the zoo and continue to dream together, happy to have each other. Ellie is making a book with all the adventures she has with Carl. Although these are not too exciting, they are really special to her. In the book, she includes pictures of their wedding, of birthdays they spent together, of beautiful and completely ordinary moments they had at home, of the laughs and walks they shared. Ellie's adventure book was full of those moments that made her happy, though she lived by Carl's side. They had both dreamed and lived a life together. It was the only way they had made it. But now Ellie's health becomes very serious. She adds one more picture to the adventure book and writes to Carl, "Thanks for the adventure. Now go for another one." Ellie passes away and Carl now has a gaping hole in his heart. When we love someone deeply, our dreams, plans, and hopes for the future naturally intertwine with that person. We imagine our life in tandem with theirs and cannot conceive of a future without that special person. But life often surprises us, and suddenly, either through a death or a breakup, we are faced with a present we never expected, a present without that person we love so much. It is quite heartbreaking and confusing, especially because an important part of our identity was intertwined with that person. Now we have to find a way to cope with this reality, even though we would never have chosen it. In the face of this, Ellie's words encouraging her husband to go for a new adventure become very difficult to live up to. The future he once envisioned with so much joy at her side now feels empty and aimless. This is because Carl, in addition to mourning the loss of his life partner, is also experiencing the loss of their shared dreams and the life plan they had built together. Years pass and Carl has managed to go through his grief. He has already processed the loss of Ellie, but he is still not immune to her memory, and this is totally understandable. Even if we heal the wounds, we will always carry the memories with us. We know how beautiful a life with them is, so now we miss them in our new life. Carl now lives with his dog Doug, who has a collar that allows him to talk, and together with him he enjoys everyday life. One day the phone rings. It is Mrs. Meyer, an older woman who is a friend of Carl's. He picks up the phone without waiting for what she had to say, that she likes him and would love to go on a date with him. Carl freezes, not knowing what to say or do, but agrees to the date. However, as soon as he hangs up the phone, he begins to mentally collapse. He is scared, worried, and blames himself for agreeing. He looks at the frame with the photograph of his wedding to Ellie and apologizes to her. With a sense of shame, he turns the frame to the wall so she won't look at it like that. He says to himself, "How could I have done something like that?" When a person has had a significant past relationship, it is very common to experience feelings of guilt when starting a new relationship. This happens in the case of widows and widowers, but also with those who have recently ended a significant relationship. This feeling of guilt can arise for several reasons. Firstly, the person may experience guilt towards their ex-partner, feeling that they are somehow betraying their memory. They had vowed to love each other forever and now feel that they are reneging on that commitment, even though this is due to circumstances beyond their control. They feel that they are disrespecting what they have experienced, what they shared with the other person, and what the other person meant to them. Secondly, the person may experience feelings of guilt towards themselves. They know that they are still thinking about their former partner and believe they have not moved on, which creates doubts about their ability to fully commit to the new relationship. On the one hand, there may be a sense of disloyalty to themselves and their own feelings, as if harboring memories or thoughts about their ex-partner are a betrayal of their own efforts to move forward. And on the other hand, there may also be a fear that these lingering thoughts mean that they are still emotionally attached to their past relationship, which could prevent them from forming a genuine and healthy bond with a new partner. And third, they may feel guilty in the face of social expectation. There is a concern that people will think they should not have loved their partner if they are seen dating someone new. They feel that there must be an appropriate period of mourning or being single before starting a new relationship. They may feel they need to justify or explain their decision to pursue a new relationship. However, as we will see below, these feelings of guilt, while perfectly understandable, are not necessary. Guilt should not be an emotion that defines our actions, as it is only a perception of the situation, not an absolute reality. Guilt is a natural emotional response to significant changes in our lives. It is an emotion that can allow us to adapt to change. Feeling guilt is not necessarily a negative thing. However, it is critical not to allow this feeling to dominate and drive our long-term decisions. Carl gets nervous. He hasn't been on a date in decades. He has no idea what he should do. How should he greet her? What should he say? Should he bring her something? Feeling the pressure, Carl decides he should bring her something. He goes to the store and not knowing which chocolates are the most appropriate, he decides to buy a bunch of them. He then goes about the task of choosing the perfect flowers, applying lotion, and even practices his dance moves. In an attempt to prepare for the date, Carl involves his dog, Doug, in his rehearsals, practicing how to initiate casual conversation and talk about topics such as the weather, the economy, and even rehearse some jokes. Getting back into the dating world after a breakup can be extremely overwhelming for multiple reasons. You don't know what to expect from each other. Memories of the other person begin to invade your thoughts. You're used to a former partner and their dynamic. And insecurity about how your personality traits, interests, and past love life will be perceived can create anxiety. After a separation, we are in a process of personal rediscovery. We are faced with the task of untangling our identity from that of our ex-partner and rebuilding ourselves as independent individuals, which is quite a challenging but extremely important task. After several hours of preparation, Carl comes downstairs with Duke, but to the dog's surprise, Carl looks different. He has dyed his hair. In an effort to look younger and make a good impression, he decides to adopt a radical change. Duke looks at him and doesn't recognize him. At this, Carl feels uncomfortable. He is definitely out of his comfort zone, and with this he decides he will cancel the date. Nerves get the better of him, and he picks up the phone to call Miss Meyer and cancel, but Duke stops him. He snatches the phone from her and teaches her a lesson. He tells her, "You're going to act like a dog, not a human. You're going to bring her a toy, and when you see her, you tell her, 'I just met you, and I already like you.'" That advice Duke gives her is pretty interesting. Often before a date we get too complicated thinking about what to say and how to act, but there's a lot we can learn from the simplicity of dogs. They are naturally friendly, affectionate, and do not hesitate to show when they like someone. They do not tend to adopt a defensive attitude or worry excessively about what will come next, but on the contrary, they tend to simply enjoy each other's company. Although it may seem a bit humorous, it seems like good advice, to be friendly, attentive, act naturally, and be present in the moment. Carl sighs and thanks his faithful friend, corrects his hair, and finally, it's time for his appointment. At the door he says, "I'm ready. I think I have everything." But his posture and tone of voice reveal that this is a very difficult time for him. Carl, like many other people, had always envisioned his life with only one person, his Ellie. But life had other plans for him. And of course, he has already gone through his healing process. He has already integrated this loss into his being, as we saw in the Up movie. But he still finds it hard to face this new reality. He's going on a date with a woman who is not Ellie. It is a strong moment for him. Carl looks at the door, hesitant. Doug watches him and knows exactly what he has to do. He takes his own leash and offers it to Carl. He says, "I'll walk you." Cole smiles at his friend's support, but before he leaves, he has one more thing to do. He takes Ellie's photograph in his hands and talks to his wife. He says, "I hope you don't mind, Ellie. I think this is a new kind of adventure for both of us. I promise I'll be back by 10, 11 at the latest. Doug is my chaperone. He won't let me flirt with anyone. And remember, you'll always be my girl." She blows a kiss to the photograph and heads off to this new stage of her life. He carries a simple but beautiful flower to give to Mrs. Meyer. When we lose someone either through a death or a breakup and want to move on, we have to understand that it is possible to love and miss our former partner at the same time that we can have space to be happy and involved with someone else, as if the emotions we perceive as antagonistic are mutually exclusive. We are complex beings who can experience contradictory emotions. It is possible to love and watch at the same time. Seeking a new relationship does not have to succumb to guilt. It is important to understand that it is possible to find happiness in a new relationship, even if you still harbor feelings and memories of an ex-partner. Keeping someone who was important in your life, in your heart, does not exclude the ability to love another person. Each person is unique and will occupy a unique place in your life. Rather than viewing a new relationship as a replacement or a continuation of the old one, it may be more accurate to view it as a new, independent experience. It is also understandable that feelings of guilt may arise due to societal expectations. But it is important to remember that family and friends will always have their own opinions about your relationships regardless of your decisions. Perhaps what really matters is how you feel and whether this new relationship brings you happiness and well-being. Opening ourselves to new relationships after a loss is not a betrayal of those we love, but a way of honoring all that they did for us. We take their love and carry it with us on our next adventures. We must remember that letting go does not mean forgetting or getting over. Letting go means letting the memories take another form that does not weigh, but uplifts. If you want me to relate and reflect on your favorite story or answer questions or comments, you can become a member of the channel by clicking below where it says join. This will give you access to many exclusive benefits, plus you will be supporting the channel immensely.